Alternate from McCann and Foothill, 545.
Alexa, remind me about a meeting at 8:55.
Is that 8:55 in the morning?
AM.
Or in the evening?
AM.
Okay, I'll remind you at 8:55 a.m.
That's the brightest. Hey guys! Oh wow, there's only 4 of you, but obviously today is an optional class and all, so I understand. But we can still wait for other people to join. But in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, and by the way, you know, I highly encourage all students in my Zoom lectures to have their camera on for a number of reasons, which you will actually find out works in your favor later on, right? So thank you very much for that. And so we had an onboarding class last night at 7 p.m. I've got a recording of it that I'll post on YouTube after today's class. There's a meeting, and after the meeting I'll post it. So so that basically walks you through the entire series of steps leading up to getting your trophies from the questing system. Basically creating a very first program, Hello World, and dragging the file, dropping it into the questing system, having it evaluated, and get the trophies back, and look at your score on the /Q site to make sure that it's recorded and everything. So I just basically walked people through that loop, and you're welcome to watch that video. Actually, Musa was there. Hey, Musa, were you there yesterday? I think you were there, yes, because I remember your face, and I asked you to switch on your camera then too.
I was only there for the beginning bit. I had to go like in the first 10 minutes.
I see. But today is okay, right? You can attend these classes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be driving like for a little bit.
You're driving right now? Are you driving right now?
In a couple of minutes, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you know, I recommend. So are you driving to Foothill by any chance?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to see if I can pick up textbooks early, so
okay,
I don't have to buy them.
Incidentally, there are no textbooks, prescribed textbooks for this class. You know that, right?
Yeah, for my other classes.
Yeah. Everything in this class is 100% free, except for your fees. And the fees really are only for, you know, Foothill to keep records and provide a transcript and things like that. It's very minimal, right? It's $200 for all of that together, plus STEM Center assistantship, tutors, and free food for people that are hungry on campus. Everything is provided in that $200. So Foothill is really heaven for students, I think, in many ways, because you know, you even have fantastic views to have your you know, food, looking at the mountains, the hills around you. So that's cool. Yeah, everything is free. Questing is 100% free anywhere in the world. Any person anywhere who has an internet connection can quest and participate in our subreddits. Reddit is free, right? Anyone can ask questions and help each other out. Ultimately, the goal is basically to just have a community of self-helping students who can, you know, basically solve hard problems with each other's help. So yeah, we will start as usual in about 5 or 10 minutes. And today, because it's an optional class and all, I will end the lecture at 8:55. And but Thursday onwards, we're going to have full classes starting at 8 a.m. So today's plan is really just to go over some doubts you may have regarding data representation, which is like key. And I'm not sure if other professors teaching basic computer science, that's 101 level, right? So 1A, 2A, 3A, and other colleges, they start with data representation or not. In my opinion, data representation is key and is a cornerstone really for all studies in computer science, because if you don't understand how data is represented, there's no way we can understand complex algorithms, right? Because yeah, and so data, it is worth every moment of our time to get to understand how data. Good. There's a mosquito in here. I let it out. So, yeah, data is really key, and I hope that yeah, every moment you spend learning about data representation will pay itself back many times. It's like, you know, even more than compound interest when you try and master more complex algorithms. Because when you're dealing with other, you know, advanced algorithms, many times some of these algorithms make use of bits in the data that most ordinary programmers don't even see. It's really strange, isn't it? Because if you take, well, you'll find out when you look at most of these data types, integers, reals, and so on, they come to you in a fixed size. Well, I don't know, we shouldn't be talking about this now, but it's interesting. And those are things that you'll actually learn, because it's like going to a grocery store, and you only need about a couple of, let's say you only need to drink a couple of cans of soda or something like that, okay? And then you go to a supermarket or a grocery store, and they sell it all in 6-packs. And so the minimum you can buy is 6, right? So most people, you know, if the less, I guess the less informed computer scientist types would buy the 6-pack, consume the 2-pack, and basically say, well, you know, I can't consume the remaining 4. I'm just gonna toss it. Okay, but strictly speaking, people don't toss it, they put it in the fridge. But assume, right? So you can only buy these 6-packs and you only need 2. Most people will say, okay, I'll get these 6-packs and toss 4. That seems so unintuitive and stupid in a human setting, right? People don't do that, right? However, in computer science and programming, you see programmers do that all the time. And I've seen it, right? Even experienced programmers, I've seen that they will basically use data and waste a lot of data, and without making use of it, and they don't know, that they're wasting data, and so you can go through, and you can still be a successful programmer. Successful meaning you can make a lot of money, but in order to get into the higher echelons of programming, right, where the real giants of computer science are, then those people would actually know exactly what the hell is going on. Yeah, at the bitwise level, you know, which electron is jumping from which transistor to another transistor. But anyway, what we'll do is, if you have any questions about data representation, because and I think I told Ram or Dean this also, because these flex days for professional development, basically taking out a chunk of learning time. You guys are paying hard-earned money, or your parents are paying, or whoever it is, right? Paying money to get knowledge, and you only get 12 weeks. And of those 12 weeks, 2 days gone for professional development, right? Attending random talks on on college, which are not directly related, right, to some of the stuff that we'll cover. And I think that it doesn't do us in our class, right, any good, because there's so much material we have to cover. And I've found that even if we have the whole 12 weeks at our disposal, many students in the past, close to 50% of the students can't make it past quest number 7, right? So, or the material we cover in week 7, and they're basically stuck there. And they're fighting for time because they're enrolled in too many units, and they're fighting for time, and they only come to CS2A once a week or twice a week, and then try to make some progress and go away again. Never going to work, right? However, on the positive side, if you just want to pass this class, not intending to major in computer science, there is a path, and you don't have to stretch yourself so hard for that. And I can show you how to do that. You only need to complete all the way up to quest number 6. You don't have to go to quest number 9. Quest number 9 is really hard. Okay, I can tell you that right now. Quest number 1 to 5, on the question, you haven't started questing yet, right? Quest number 1 to 5, super duper easy. Okay, in fact, I tell my CS2C students, I mean, my CS2C students have to complete all the blue quests and all the green quests also, and they get credit for it, right? So if you complete all of the blue quests, you get credit for it in CS2B, and you can be double dipping, triple dipping, right? You get credit in 2A, 2B, and 2C for all the quests you're solving now. However, in 2B, students only get 1 week, 7 days to solve all of the 9 quests. And in 2C, you only get 2 days to solve all of the 9 quests. And it may seem unrealistic, but you'll see that, you know, 2 days is actually too much for you. When you get to, even when you finish 2A, you'll think that, well, you know, I can do all of that in 7 days now easily. Because that's the way it is. Initially, it seems hard, but once you've done it, it becomes easy. And you can progress really fast through these things. And I think that should be the goal. Okay, the goal shouldn't be to cross each milestone and go on to the next one, go on to the next one, go on to the next one, and forget this. Then you're never ever going to cut it as a programmer. But if you cross a milestone and then say, well, I've crossed that, but I still want to perfect it, right? So I want to think about how can I do it better? What changes can I make? Yeah, and so on. Like when you're playing a piece and you played and practiced for a long time, and then you got it right one time, and then you played for your teacher, and she says, okay, you got it right, and let's go on to the next lesson. She doesn't mean that, okay, now you've got it right, you can forget it, let's go on to the next piece. No, she says, okay, now you're ready to go on to the next one, but that stuff you still have to practice and get perfect. Because, you know, if someone stopped you on the street at random and gave you a violin and say, play this piece, and say, oh, no, I got to practice it for a few hours before I can play it in public, that's not it. Okay, that means you haven't mastered it yet. So what it means, what your teacher wants is that after you've mastered the piece, well, I'm going to teach you another one, but the next one, you got to practice in your own time, so that someone stops you at random outside of Trader Joe's and gives you a violin and say, well, can you play this for, you know, the poor children of the world or something like that? And you should just be able to say, yeah, oh, sure, no worries, I'll do it. Right? And you should just be able to play it right there. And so you need to keep practicing again and again, because you need to get good at it. Not for me, not for your parents, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Because when you get good at it, you will basically be setting the stage for getting good at more advanced things down the stage. Otherwise, there's no way you can get good at advanced things. So today, if you have any questions about data representation, anything to, so yeah, where I was leading with that is that even though we don't have a formal class today, it is like super duper important. Please pass this message on to all the students who are not here today via Reddit or any other channels that you're connected. They have to have started reading the data representation module as of yesterday, right? Yesterday was Monday. So in fact, even earlier, if possible, you need to have started to read it, and also have taken the first crack at the data representation quiz. Okay, I think there's only one crack at it. Yeah, it's only one crack at the data. You should have attempted the data representation quiz, or at least getting ready to it, getting ready to do it on Friday. Okay, there's a lot of material with data representation. There's about 18 pages. Well, actually, it's not 18 whole. You know, there's a lot of fluff in there too. You know how I write and talk. So, but still, there's a lot of material that you need to cover. So it behooves every student to start on that as quickly as possible. And so hopefully you'll have lots of questions on Thursday, not today, on data representation. Mainly the places where students are stuck tend to be around two's complement notation, what two's complement is and how it works, how to convert numbers from one, you know, from two's complement to unsigned, and so on and so forth. And then people have doubts about what is unsigned and what is signed notation, because in C++, you actually have a very interesting property. When you store numbers, you can actually store them and tell the compiler saying, I want a place to store a number, but this number is always going to be positive. It's never going to be negative, right? If you tell the compiler that, the compiler will be able to give you space to store that number that is actually one bit bigger than the size given for the same integer in any other language in the world. Okay, Java, Python, any other language. If you want a number and you know for sure that number is always going to be positive, you get one extra bit for each number. You may think it's only one extra bit, right? It's only 1 or 0, but one extra bit, as you will learn, basically doubles your space. Every bit you get doubles what you already have before. You think about it, right? So if you think about something that can either be, let's say, red or green, okay? Red or green. There's only two possible states. And then someone says, you know, here's another block, and that can be yellow, right? Or red, yellow or red. Now, all of a sudden, you have four states. Even though you got one block extra, you got four states, because you can have yellow and then blue, yellow and these two states, and red and these two states. Yes. So for each of the yellow or red, you get two. So essentially, you've doubled the amount of space you have, isn't it? Do you agree with me or not? Yeah. So that is the power of one bit. One bit basically expands our universe by doubling it, copying the whole damn thing over one more time. That is the power. And C++ gives you the power to leverage and exploit that one extra bit, which it's not that it's important from a computer science perspective, because computer science is not concerned with exploiting these, you know, hardware or these details like this. But see, the real computer science is concerned with how you can solve problems really efficiently, with even ignoring bits and bytes. Okay, bits and bytes only necessary for data presentation. Real computer science, you don't even need a language. You can study computer science in English or Chinese or Swahili, right? Any language you want, you can study computer science without recourse to a programming language, because technically speaking, you can write any program in English too, right? Any language, as long as you're clear and precise and unambiguous. That's the most important thing, is unambiguous, because you got to be able to say, this is what you need to do, and that person should be able to do it without having to come back to you with another question. So if that person says, okay, I'll do it, but do you want that or this? Okay, that's not unambiguous. So when you have become a fantastic manager, a great manager who can manage totally unthinking people, which is a computer. Well, today. Anyway, right? So you can say, I can tell you exactly what you need to do, down to the smallest level of detail. So there's absolutely no ambiguity. You don't need to come back to me. You will never get stuck, right? And if you're able to describe what that person should do in order to get that task accomplished, then you're a programmer. Whether you do it in English or Chinese, doesn't matter, right? And so what these different programming languages do are essentially to take a natural language like English and say, well, you know what, English is good for communicating between humans. However, there's a lot of ambiguity there, right? Because if I say to someone, yeah, you run to Trader Joe's and get some milk, they're going to ask me, which Trader Joe's, how much milk, all these things, right? So there's too much ambiguity in human language. So but my computer is a really dumb thing. It's not as intelligent as humans yet. So I need to be able to take that English and basically chop out parts of English that are likely to cause confusion. That we're good at, right? We can always take something that already works, okay, and keep chopping things off while making sure that what you chop off hasn't destroyed the ability to do your work. Yes or no? Yeah, because trimming is easy, isn't it? Everybody loves to prune their garden. I think over pruning is a danger in the garden, right? So, so pruning is you take a language that works for humans and then prune it. Get rid of things that will confuse a computer. Get rid of things that is going to confuse a child. You don't talk to a child using high vocabularies. Yeah. You talk to child in what is called motherese. I don't know. It used to be called motherese. When I did my postdoc research, it was called motherese because that was a theory. Well, back when I was doing my research. So that research was around this interesting problem of how very young children, because one of the psychologists at Johns Hopkins, that's where I did my postdoc, and he had proved, or not proved, he had generated lots of evidence and published facts that suggested that children as young as 9 months of age, okay, 9 months, who haven't really interacted with humans that much, right? 9 months, they are able to tell when a word ends and another word begins in fluent speech, not in motherese. That's where I heard the word motherese in first time, because motherese is what we are used to. mothers and parents generally here talk to children in a different way. They enunciate very clearly. They say one word. They don't use complex words, simple words, and then insert a big pause between words. Here is a spoonful and things like that. Well, not like that. But generally, they use limited vocabularies and make sure that the words are delineated and with pauses. However, if you look at the way that humans talk to each other, you'll see something very interesting. You just record the speech. And look at the speech, look at the recorded waveform, recorded speech as a waveform on your Apple iPhone, right? In voice recorder, or even on any audio software. You'll see that the spaces between words, you can't see them in the waveform, right? The spaces are gone. It's like one continuous waveform like that. Because when you talk, these spaces are not represented in our speech. But yet, children are able to tell when a word ends and the next word begins. Even the startling fact that Peter, the researcher, discovered is that even when they have not heard these words before, right? Or even if they have not heard one of the words before or something like that. Man, I got to look up the paper again. So that's really interesting, isn't it? So we were trying to find out why. How is it possible? Is it possible to statistically model a system which can do this like a child? And we did some research and found that it is actually possible. There is a statistical model in which even fluent speech directed at children exponentially increases their vocabulary. As long as there are one or two words occasionally spoken, right? Children can use that to segment fluent speech, bam, 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 like that. And well, that's a theory anyway. So that's how even children as young as 9 years old can tell whole words apart, even though they may not have heard it before. So that's very interesting. How did I get talking about that? I don't know how I got started talking about that. By the way, you guys need to, rein me in from time to time, right? When I go off on a tangent, you can just pull me in. And I shouldn't be the only one talking. You should also feel free to interject and talk anytime you want. And hey, Juan, switch on your camera if possible, okay? Because that cat already knows C++. All right. Okay, so let's see. If you have any questions on data representation, please feel free to ask me. Most of the time, like I said, signed and unsigned is one of the things that confuses people. I don't want to go into the detail of launching into another lecture describing what is signed, what is unsigned. However, if you go to any of the lectures on our YouTube channel, now I think we have several quarters worth. Any quarter, pick any quarter and look at the lectures for day 1 and day 2, right? The first 2 lectures, they're all about data representation, right? And in these lectures, we talk about what is signed, what is unsigned, how and what is two. We even do lots of exercises, like what is two's complement, how to convert from two's complement to ordinary, and also how to convert from floating. Yeah, that's the other thing that students have a problem with is floating point notation. What is floating point notation? Right, and then in the lectures we go into a great deal of detail about what floating point is and how to represent numbers, which we can do today and on Thursday. Well, actually, let's reserve it for Thursday, right? Because most students will be there, so we'll do conversions or converting a number from base 10, which is what we use, to base 2 for a computer, base 8, base 16, hexadecimal. All of those things we can do. Hands-on exercises also, they would all be very, very useful. And the one thing that you guys should already do, and this qualifies for participation points also, is at the end of module 0, you will find an exercise. Okay, it's for converting your name to base 27 notation. Okay, and I will give points to anyone who actually does convert their names and posts and shares that in the subreddit. Okay, in the very first few quarters, people were doing this, and then last quarter, I don't know. Then I asked students too why they were not as engaged in class. There were a few students who were engaged, but many of the students basically found it too hard, and it seems that many of the students were overloaded, and also students got enrolled in too much credit, and also all these other social problems like COVID and challenges at home. So hopefully things have eased up now, and you will be able to convert your names to base 27, share them in the subreddit. And there are other posts, right? You can look at the past posts and see how people have converted their own names. And people with small, short names are at an advantage, obviously. So Tim can easily convert his name to base 27. So I'm going to say, well, if you want a challenge, you can convert your last name. So that might be, but it's okay. You can convert your first name if you like. Because what we're trying to do is essentially find out if the hexadecimal, if the hexadecimal conversion of your name is pronounceable or not. Okay, one person last quarter, I think Sam, they converted their own name, like Tim, Sam converted their own name to base 27, was not pronounceable in hexadecimal letters. So they converted, I think Abe, Abe or Abraham Lincoln, and found that it, or someone's name, okay, and it turned out to be pronounceable. ABE, ABE is hexadecimal, right? Because all three are hexadecimal digits. So they converted some name and got Abe and shared it. So you got to find out. We've only got, in all the quarters I've taught so far, we only got two students whose actual names, when converted to hexadecimal, were actually pronounceable, reasonable sounding names. We actually had two students like that. You can look up in the past. They're in the subreddit. So maybe you will be one of those students, a new one who has a pronounceable hexadecimal name. So yeah, you can do all that. If you have any other questions, also feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer them. How many of you have started reading the data representation module, by the way? Thank you, Juan. Yeah, Jose. Great. I would say that it is high time. Every one of you should basically dive into the data representation module. And the way to read it is not to get stuck on each page. Okay, never get stuck on each page. Trying to say I'm going to understand this page and then go on to the next one. The same thing. Even if you're reading a book, right? And I don't mean a storybook. If you're reading a computer science book or a math book, sometimes math also, I think, right? If you don't understand a page and you spend too much time trying to understand that before you flip and go on to the next page, chances are lower that you will actually understand the whole material, because you'll get stuck. It's a very similar situation to quests, because I have found in the past that there are 9 quests you have to complete in CS2A, 9 blue quests. And during the early quarters, some of the students refused to move on to the next quest, even though they got the password. Because every quest, you get some trophies, and then you get the password for the next quest. But then there are more trophies to be won in the same in the old quest too. So these students will not go on to the next quest, even though they have the password. They'll say, no, I'm going to get all the trophies here and then only move on. Okay, that is like, I'm saying I'm going to understand this page and then only flip it. And many times people get stuck and frustrated and give up. So the trick to making progress in any field, not just computer science or data representation, is when you're reading it, if you don't understand a page, try to get a reasonable idea, not a whole idea, reasonable idea, and then keep going on, go to the end, right? And after you reach the end, you'll know, right? There's a few pages I didn't understand, or maybe I didn't understand most of it. So let me go back to the beginning. So this way, if you scan it from end to end many times, rather than pages end to end many times, you have a much better chance of succeeding. Yeah, I think this might even work if you're doing history or something else. Also, it actually works, because I think, right? Because I haven't done history, but I think this might happen, because if you're reading about the development or the unfolding of a war, right? And it's like 15 pages long, and then you're trying to understand one page and then move on to the next page. It doesn't work, right? However, if you read the whole thing, then you get a bigger picture of why this whole thing happened. And then if you read the first page, then you know, okay, in the context of the bigger picture, well, it makes sense. In the context of the bigger picture, the second page makes sense. Yes, it's very similar in computer science, mathematics, and everything. So if you get stuck on anything, you have to move on, because you say, I can't understand it with local vision. I need to get global vision and look at it again. Yeah. So local vision or tunnel vision, sometimes there's no solution. Even if you get, the world's foremost minds, right, and ask them to solve a problem with local vision, they'll say, no, I can't, because, I need to know more. So get global vision, and then your local vision actually improves greatly. I think it may be to do with, pattern recognition in general, for humans, right? Because even in recognition of speech or visual recognition, Recognizing what's inside a single dot is very hard. All right, one small area. Or even in speech, recognizing one chunk of speech is very hard. But if you get given the whole sentence in audio format, you can get it much more accurately. Yes, because the language model aligns each word. And even visual recognition. If the whole picture makes sense, then the individual parts will automatically fall out of it. But you cannot make sense of the individual parts. And this insight needs to be brought into learning any subject also. So data representation or questing, don't get stuck. Keep going to the end and then come back. So do that entire suite repeatedly, and you'll find that you're succeeding in all of the courses, not just computer science and CS2A. Every course you're doing, if you just do it end-to-end suite, right? And ignore the stuff that you don't understand and come back to it. But that is the important thing. You got to remember to come back. So you can't ignore it and go to the end and say, okay, now I've got the last page, now I'm going to the next one. That doesn't work. So ignore it, get to the last page, and then go back and then look at it with a bigger lens, and so on and so forth. I think that'll work. I hope that's a useful tip for you guys. It's going to help you both with questing as well as data representation, and pass the message on. As of today, I would like to see in the subreddit lots and lots of you converting your names and posting it, saying, "Hey, I converted my name to base 27. Here it is. Oh no, base 27 to hexadecimal, or octal or something like that. And I've got a pronounceable name and so on." So I'm hoping to see a lot of these posts, and you will also get credit for this. Okay. Basically, your participation points will increase because of that. All right. So if you have any questions, any other questions to do with data representation, anything else about the class too, because today really I can't talk too much about the anything. Let's put it this way: anything I talk about today to do with the actual material of the class, I have to talk about it again on Thursday, because today is not a mandatory class and lots of students would have missed it. So I have to make sure that everybody gets it. So you can ask me, you can ask me questions like that, and I can explain it today and on Thursday. I don't have a problem with that. Or I might suggest, let's save this question for Thursday because it's too important and lots of people will benefit. So we can do that also. But if you have any other general questions about the class, how it's going to work, questing, grading, subreddit, exams, midterm, any question whatsoever, okay? Even if it's not directly related to CS2A, that's fine, because it's really an informal lecture today, right? So you feel free to ask me, and I will be happy to answer your questions or offer help where necessary. Yesterday, I did like I said, 7 p.m. the onboarding class. Please look out, look out for the video on YouTube. I think it'll be available as of noon anyway, okay? Because if I upload it at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So please watch it, because it gives you a complete video of how one student created a file, submitted it, got it graded, and got it back. All of that happens within 10 seconds. Your assignments. This is really cool, isn't it? Because in the past, I know many students, when I used to teach the close in this course in a traditional way, back in the day, before I had questioning, I'd have students write their program and submit it, and then over the weekend mostly, I would sit down with all the code, okay, and read the code and circle with the red ink and say, well, no, and then give them a score and send it back. But then they submit it and they have no idea what they did, and by the time they get the scores back, they don't even remember most of the errors that happen. So they're not in the frame of mind to fix the errors. And think about it, right? It's computer science. That is the wrong way to teach computer science. In fact, any professor who teaches computer science and says, write a program, hand it in, I'll grade it and send it back to you in 2 days, or even 5 hours, right? That is a wrong way to teach computer science. That professor has chosen the less efficient way, maybe for various reasons, right? Maybe that's the only one available to them, but they've chosen the less efficient way to teach you computer science, because computer science is like swimming, right? Because if you go to, if you're going to try to learn to swim, and then you've swum, and then your instructor has been watching how you swim, right? And then she says, okay, I've seen what you did. Now come back next week and I'll send you a report of what you should try and improve, right? So, and then in your report, she says, you know, about 25 meters into the pool, you did a wrong move. And that would have cost you, that would have made you drown in the deep sea, right? And suppose she says that, and you got that 10 days later from the instructor of swimming, that's totally no use, right? You don't know which the move was, you've forgotten all about it. And computer science is like that. So if you make a serious error, and I tell you that, you know, this program has a serious error, it could crash your program. And maybe if you're working for some big company, right? And this bug, if you introduce that bug, some hacker from elsewhere could basically just tunnel right into a Windows machine anywhere in the world, because your software is now part of Windows, and that's got this gaping hole in it, right? So, but you know, those kinds of things won't even make sense to beginning programmers. So if, because by the time the assignment is graded and given back to you, tell me if I'm wrong, right? In CS2A, if you take more than 2 days to get the assignment back in your hands after you submit it, most students, especially at Foothill, who are, I think, very, fortunately not in my sections anymore, I think, right? Previously it was the case that very competitive, right? Just trying to climb over each other to get to the top. They come and get secret help from me in office hours and say, how can I solve it? And they don't share that with other people and just get 1 extra point. All nasty stuff, okay? So I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I actually lost my train of thought there completely. But what was I saying? Why did you say? Yeah, when I was teaching it traditionally. Yeah, right. So if it takes more than a couple of days, you've forgotten those people who have been in 2A, because they're also competitive. They have submitted a program and then moved on to, all right, now I've done it, I've got secret help, and I've got, you know, I've sealed in my 15 points or whatever it is. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have, you know, I have to do math, chemistry, English, and then sociology, right? All of these 5 courses, 21 units, right? I got to complete all of those assignments due on Friday. So by the time they get the feedback from me, it says, you know, you have an error on line 15. They say, well, okay, error on line 15. I lost 1 out of 15 points. Not worth going back to, because I don't even remember that program anymore. So that is never going to help you. And then I see the same bug, the same kind of error made by that student in the next assignment. Okay, so what is the point of telling a student that they did something wrong if they're going to do the same thing again in a future assignment? Yes? Okay, that is what tended to happen. That is exactly what tended to happen with the previous way of teaching computer science. When I used to tell students what the problems were in their programs, right? And they basically didn't care. They said, I got my points and I'm going to go on to the next one. And they do the same errors again in the next. And then I figured, well, actually, you know, what I really want is to teach computer science and make sure that you guys understand what the hell is going on, so that at the end of 3 months, I can basically say, well, I'm going to take off now, guys. You don't need me anymore. So I want to go and do my own thing. Okay. So I don't have to be part of your lives anymore. Well, I'd love to, but you know, I don't have to be part of everyone's lives, right? So you are independent. You can take care of yourself. You can do great things on your own. That freedom you cannot give your teacher if you haven't mastered things, right? So at the end of the day, that's what I want. And I said, well, this is really not getting me there. If people are just going for the points, they're not set up for success at the end of this class. They've succeeded in class, but they are not going to succeed in life, right? And so Foothill as an institution, I think, should focus more on skills that would set students up to succeed in life as well as in the course. But the environment and the culture sometimes make it so that students can have very high success rates in classes, so that institutions and colleges can say, wow, this is a great college, you know, Ivy League or something like that. Everyone who comes in gets an A, right? And it is actually a fact, by the way. If you look at, you know, statistics, many of the Ivy League colleges, students who get there, easy peasy, right? They get this. It's not always the case. You know, you go to the challenging courses, you'll have any college, not the top colleges, right? Challenging courses are challenging, but initially anyway, most of the students that get into the colleges, they all get A's, and it's very easy. And I don't know what the reason is. There's many reasons, right? People talk about this in Quora and all, but if that is the attitude of just getting the grade and moving on, it doesn't do any good. I don't know where I was going with that again, but that's essentially the core point I was trying to make, is that this system now is working beautifully, because when you submit code that has a bug in it, you will know in 10 seconds that something is not working, and also the system will tell you this is where this part of your code is probably where you've done something horrible. Okay, so and it won't tell you exactly where. It'll tell you something is not working, and this is what I was trying to do, and it didn't work. So you already know at that point. When you look at the message, it's going to be cryptic, like in real life, because in real life you never get told, right? Your manager, it doesn't tell you what is wrong with something you built. They say, well, you know what? After we released your patch, we lost a bunch of users in Lithuania, right? Or some part of the world, or some demographic, some East Asian population stopped using the app after that patch went out. So, and you were the author of the patch. So what happened? So they're not going to say, well, in your patch, you basically take the latitude and longitude of your data points and then do some crazy ass mathematics with it, which screws it up. And therefore, this section of the globe is never getting any data, right? That might be lines 50 to 65 in your code. But does your manager know that? No, right? The only thing your manager or your CEO knows is that as soon as we released Jose's patch, we just lost $15 million in revenue, right? So that's what they would know. And however, the question system will actually tell you. It will go a little bit more detail. It won't tell you exactly line 15 to 50 to 65, but it'll tell you, right? I was trying to do this, and it failed. Your code failed. Okay, so that's a gentle, but yet not too detailed, informative, blurb that will say, okay, well, you know what? In my code, this is where I'm trying to do that, and that's where the error happened. So my logic here must be problematic. So then you look at the code, and then you say, well, this is a logic. And it's in C++. Let me just translate that into mental mush in English or something like that and run it in my head step by step. Okay, so you're going to say, all right, I'm doing this. Okay, now this will change. Now that will change. And that is going to be calculated with these two values. Oh my gosh, that is wrong. Okay, that's how you run it in your head like a computer, and then find out what the problem is. And you'll get very good at that. You'll get like super duper good at it, right? Initially, in the first 6 weeks of CS2A, you have to be doing it consciously, saying that, well, now I'm going to look at the code and run it in my head, But like all skills and arts, it'll just become second nature, like walking. And after week 6, just you make a note in your diaries, okay? After week 6, if you have been following this suggestion, up to week 6, apply yourself 100%. Okay, imagine that this is the only course you're doing, or maybe you're doing one other course. If you're doing 20 units and all, it's going to be hard. Okay, and I don't know how you're going to survive there, but up to week 6, I'm not asking for your entire 12 weeks. Up to week 6, just apply yourself 100%. Okay, and try to do this, get frustrated, go to bed with having made no progress during the entire day, right? Next day again, right? Feel that repeatedly. And when you feel it repeatedly, you'll stop fearing it. Fear is, I think, the biggest factor that is keeping students away from coding, because they are always early students, right? Beginning students, they always do something and they're afraid to submit it to the system or even run it sometimes, because they think, oh well, it looks very beautiful now. It looks like a professional program, but I'm very scared to run it, because what if I run it and it fails? Then it's not a real program. Yes. So it's like a goose that laid golden eggs. There's a story, right? Yeah, goose that laid. So you just kill the goose and you lost it all. No more golden eggs, like that. And so people are afraid to run it, because they say, what if I ran it and then it failed? Then I'm not such a good programmer. So you got to get over that. And the only way to get over that is by facing it repeatedly, because that is a feeling that every single programmer, no matter how great, okay, maybe that person has created the world's best piece of software that everybody in the world is using, okay, even that person has faced that feeling and is still facing that feeling. Even today, they're facing that feeling when they create code, except that they're not aware of it anymore. That is the only difference, right? It's not that you feel it and they don't feel it. They feel it, but they're not aware of that feeling anymore, because that's been consigned to the subconscious. Just like when you're walking, when a child is walking, they can feel the floor. They can feel lots of things around them. But when they've gotten conversant with walking and even running, they're not thinking about walking. They're talking to each other and playing. They're not thinking about it, right? But they're still feeling it, because if they don't feel it, they're going to fall, right? They're feeling it, but it's all been made subconscious. So, and the only way you can have that happen is by walking, right? If there's a child and you say, well, you know what, I don't want the child to feel the pain of walking for the first time, so I'll just wait until it knows to walk perfectly, and then I'll let him walk. Okay, it's like the stupidest strategy ever, right? It's never going to learn to walk. You got to learn to walk first, and then basically get inured, not inured, or you get used to it, because you got to learn that this is not going to kill you. I don't know if you guys have. There is a meditation technique in India where I think the procedure is you have to start and you basically, it's just not moving at all and not reacting to anything that happens to you, right? What we observe is that after sitting down for a little while and not moving at all, I'm obviously going to feel, itchy on your face, especially because you're breathing, and then the air is going to rub against your nostrils, lips and all. So you'll start feeling sensations here, and you want to scratch or you want to do this, okay? But the trick is to say, don't do it, all right? You feel it, but don't do it. And the reason for that is that people have lots and lots of pseudoscientific reasons for that, okay? They say, oh, you have to do that because that's the way you can see the truth and things like that. Well, yeah, okay, it leads you to seeing what, but the real reason there, in my opinion, is that this is a feeling you will feel. But most of the time, what happens is that we feel an itch and we scratch it and it's gone, right? Very few people actually have experienced the entire life cycle of an itch. Meaning that what happens if you don't scratch it? And is it going to kill you? Right? So the understanding here is that you got to understand that it's not going to kill you, but you have to see it through to see what happens. Right? And so the idea is to go through millions and millions of those sensations and just watch them without doing anything, and just an observer, and to say, well, okay, well, you know what, comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. Nothing is killing me, right? But it comes and goes. So it's all transient. So and eventually you'll find that you can just basically just sit down, and these things come and go, and they don't bother you anymore because you've gotten inured to it. So when they don't bother you, then your mind is freed up to think about more interesting and important things, and also bring in the knowledge that you've got from this inurement, saying, well, there are so many feelings in life, not just itching, right? There are so many feelings in life, being rejected by people, or losing a job, or many of these things. We think they're the end of the world. We think they're going to kill us. But let me put the same strategy that I learned during that meditation technique here, to see if play it out in my head, to see what is actually going to happen. Is this going to kill me? Is that the end of me? Is there absolutely no other hope? Right? And you just sit down and say, well, even though it looks hopeless, I'm just going to sit it out and see what the hell happens. And we see that all of those things have an arc, right? Even things that have longitudinal breadth, right? Like months, weeks, years sometimes, right? We see that all of them have this ebb and flow, and they settle. Eventually, everything settles, and people don't experience that, and therefore they don't know. And the reason they don't know is because people are reactive and busy all the time. So I used to know a person who used to place a great deal of value. I don't know what value. This is social value on being busy all the time. And she used to say, that person I know was such a great person because they always used to be busy. Get up at 5 a.m. and from the first minute they're always doing something, getting things done, doing something, and I've never seen them sit down for a single minute idle. They're always doing something, right? So maybe it's a virtue in some places, right? But that is not a virtue for personal development, right? For personal development, you have to be we have to train ourselves to not do things, because our human tendency is to always be doing something. And then if we don't do something, we feel that we're wasting time. And so we try to kill that sensation by going to entertainment. We'll switch on Netflix or Prime and watch it for 3 hours, right? Or play a game, Fortnite, for an entire afternoon with friends. And because those things take our mind away from the pain. And people never get to experience what happens when you leave it alone and be bored. It's going to end, but they don't know it's going to end. They say that's going to be the end of me, because they've never seen the end of it. And so that is a strategy in programming too, right? When we code, it's important to feel the frustration and feel the bugs, and not say, well, I have a bug and it's frustrating, I need to get to the STEM center or a tutor and ask them to fix it for me. Oh, that's a fix. Okay, now I'm not frustrated anymore. I can move on. No. Okay. So when you feel the frustration, don't ask for help. Okay. Well, you can ask for help, obviously, but feel it first. Okay. Feel it at least one night, and then ask for help. And then the help will also be a lot more meaningful to you. Right. And you'll know why it helps. And that is the reason why this quarter onwards, I've basically placed all the past posts in the subreddits off limits for current students. So you cannot look up the past posts in subreddits, in any of the subreddits, for solutions to your quests, because I know, right? Every single quest, some of the strong students, they've posted tip sheets, right? They've posted sheets that say, this is how you solve the quest. And they don't have the entire solution, but there's enough pointers in there for you to solve them. And so, and I found that most of the students were basically looking at the sheets and solving the quests and moving on. And then I was basically being landed in the same situation I had before, right? When I was teaching in the traditional way, people had to submit solutions, and people just have one, someone does a good solution, or they go to Chag or one of these public sites, download a solution or buy it from someone or a tutor, outside tutor, not our Foothill tutors, and they submit it. And yeah, and they don't get to experience the real programmer development process. So I would highly encourage all of you to not look at the Reddit subreddit, past subreddits, and but engage 100% with current students, right? Current students, you should feel totally free, and current questers all over the world, not just our students, right? Many people are questing, not just you. So you can ask questions. Anyone can answer. Anyone can post, because it's a public forum, right? So feel free to ask questions and engage with you, but don't look at the past subreddits, please. Obviously, you can look at them after you've finished a quest, right? After you've finished a quest, then you can go and look at the past posts for that quest and see what other people have done, right? You can see how all the other past people have struggled with the same quest, and see if your struggles are the same as what they've faced, okay? That, I think, would be a far more interesting experience. Right? Because then you're looking at the past, not with a view to finding a solution, but to find out if the problems you faced were the problems they faced too. That is much more interesting than looking for a solution, because looking for a solution is frustrating, because you have to pour through many posts and see if, okay, I'll try that, this works, that doesn't work. It gets old very quickly. Okay. However, this doesn't get old at all. I found when after you've solved it, that I had issues here. Let me see what issues that other people had. Then you look at that. That is bound to be interesting, no matter where you are in your question journey, right? Even CS2C. I say even advanced quest. You say, right? I got stuck in places A, B, and C. Did everybody get stuck in the same place? No, I go and look in the tip sheets or what other people have done. Oh no, they got stuck in XYZ that I didn't get stuck in. So there must be other places where this is challenging, but that wasn't challenging to me. So interesting. Right? So those will be far more useful to you. You'll actually learn by looking at the past posts rather than just swimming through these quests effortlessly. Does that all make sense? Is that useful? Yeah. Thank you all for attending class today, given it's an optional class and all. I hope to see all of you. Are you guys coming back on Thursday? I hope you are. Okay, right. I usually ask that in the first class, because many people will say no one. This CS2A is not this quarter. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday and helping you more, and I want to see. Yeah, that's my reminder. Yeah. All right. So I have to go. There's this meeting, division meeting I have to go to. That's why this class is cut short at.
I'm reminding you.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Yeah. I forget that's not a person. So yeah, is everybody okay with this? Yeah, and are you all feeling jazzed up about this class? Because this class will actually teach you some really crucial life skills that at the end of this you'd be able to implement. And if you have an idea in your head, you can do it yourself. You know, I remember back in the day when there were so many people wanting to do startups, but they were not CS people, okay, and they want a CTO. And they'll come asking you, right? I have this idea, can you implement it for me? I have this idea, can you implement it for me? Right? Most of these ideas are, you know, useless ideas, right? But you know, sometimes there are good ideas, and that person is not able to implement it. And you think, wow, if that person knew how to do it, they would have basically made a fortune already, right? So that's where you are. I'm pretty sure every one of you is going to have brilliant ideas. Everybody has brilliant ideas, right? And each one of you is going to have fantastic, brilliant ideas. And 99% of those ideas will go waste. Not you guys, right? Of the ideas that people go waste, that people come up with, go waste because the people that come up with the ideas don't have the skills to implement them. One time when I was a very little boy, my dad and I were walking by a cemetery, and yeah, in passing, he just said, "That is the richest place in the whole world." And I said, "How could that be the richest place, Dad? That is a cemetery, right?" And he said, "No, that's where you'll find all the unwritten symphonies, unmade software." You know, he didn't say software in those days, right? He said, "This is where you'll find all the unmade great things, right? People who had all these ideas, they weren't able to implement it. They're all in there." And because they didn't have the skills. Now, this is the class where you can pick up the skills, because you will have a lot of ideas which you can make a reality for zero cost. If you have an idea about a brand new plane, okay, new kind of aircraft, can you build it in your garage? Well, you can, but it's going to have you're going to spend a lot of money, right? Buy stuff on Amazon and so on. If you have a really, really great idea to build a rocket, you got to go to Lockheed or SpaceX or things like that. You can't do it on your own. No? Yes? Right? However, computer science, right? You have a brilliant idea. You can do it in your garage. Hewlett Packard, right? Facebook, Google, they were all born in garages around the world. So if you have, and no cost at all. So here you go. So this is a class which will equip you with a skill to create something that can change the whole world, right? Whole world for zero cost, while you're sitting in your pajamas in your garage on a phone and saying, okay, now I'm going to click this button and I'm going to shut off this entire country. All right, and you can do that. And that power is available to you, and I can show you how to get there. Okay, so just stick with this, give it your all. Okay, if you give it your all, I will also give it my all and make sure that you get your money's worth for it and more. Okay, thank you all for attending class today, and I hope to see you all on Thursday. And I hope to see a lot of posts. Keep the subreddit active and buzzing with activity, okay? And ask questions about data representation, convert your names, share information, and I think we'll have a blast, okay? This class will hopefully shape up to be a fantastic class, and you will all go on to do 2B and get credit in 2B for the 2A quests, right? What you solve now gets you points for 2A, 2B, and 2C. 3 quarters. Okay, whatever you do now, you're basically setting yourself up for 3 points in B and C. So put yourself into it 100% and you won't regret it. Okay, if you do regret it, come back and say, well, you know, I followed your advice, it didn't work. Say that after 3 years and I'll give you $1,000. Okay, so, and you can say, this is a contract, it's on a YouTube video, this is going to be on YouTube. Okay, I'll put it on YouTube, and you can say, 8 minutes and 59 seconds into the video, you said you'll give me $1,000 if I followed your advice, and I turned out to be a failure. Okay, now here I am a failure, give me $1,000 and I will give you $1,000. Right, and you can use that to start your life at that point. Okay, restart your life at that point. So 3 years from now, if you come back to me and say it didn't work, I'll give you $1,000. All right, thank you all. Thank you all, and I will see you later. Okay, bye.